Hello, this is Darice, and welcome to Moonlight Astro. If you're new and if you're returning, thank you for coming back. I do appreciate all my returning subscribers. I'm grateful for new subscribers as well. Today, we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in Gemini. That's going to be Monday, May 26th, 2025. It will be exact at 11:02 p.m. Eastern. We're also going to talk about some planning insights. We're also going to touch on Mercury's momentum. Mercury will be going retrograde at I believe, the middle of July. So I feel like this time before it goes retrograde, most of the rest of May, all of June, great time to get a lot of things done. I'll talk about that more and more detail. I'm also going to talk about the fact that it's kind of nice that we have a new moon on Memorial Day weekend or coming off of it if you're in the United States. For many of us, it's a 3-day weekend. So it's kind of nice to have a new moon around a 3-day weekend. But I'm going to get more into that as we go through this later. Um, but for the most part, let's get into this new moon. Again, this Monday, May 26th, 2025, the new moon in Gemini. I feel like this is going to be a really good new moon, actually. Like most new moons or full moons, we often feel the effects of them about 3 days before they happen. And then the intensity is on the day of the moon itself. And then the energy sort of winds down afterwards. So maybe this weekend you'll be able to tap into some of this new moon energy, either personally or professionally, depending on what you want to do. Again, if you're in the United States, it is a 3-day weekend. And if you want to take it easy, this is a great weekend to actually do that. But I'm going to go through it. This new moon, I feel, is going to help us have some clarity around our professional lives. You may have some aha or insights about what you want to do for your business, your vision, your mission. I'm hoping something like that comes to the surface for myself as well. I'm working on some things in the background. And so you may be in a similar situation. I feel like this new moon, the rest and reset energy of it being a 3-day weekend, could give us the opportunity to relax enough and have something come to the surface. Sometimes when we're not working on something directly is when epiphanies can certainly show up for us. There may also be some new conversations you have either personally or professionally this weekend. This may be a good weekend to set aside some time to reflect on some of your short term goals. Maybe think about things you want to do differently in terms of your writing, your social media strategy, maybe even jot down some ideas that come to you around launching some new projects. And the particular aspects of this new moon, we have Mercury is going to be conjunct the new moon, which is really supportive. Mercury in Gemini, Mercury is Gemini's ruling planet. So this is closely aligned with this new moon. Again, fostering clarity, breakthroughs in thought and communication. This could also help you find your voice, maybe in some personal relationships if you've been having challenges in that arena. Some inner truths and meaningful conversations. This might be a good weekend to have some of those conversations. Especially since this new moon is also going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto, planet of deep transformation. Pluto in Aquarius, uprooting structures, creating a new way of being, a new way of doing, a new way of showing up in the world. So this new moon could give you the energy, the impetus to show up in a different way if you've been contemplating how you want to show up differently for other people in your life. This trine to Pluto in Aquarius, it can empower us to explore some profound insights and maybe even embrace more intellectual curiosity and things we want to do differently. What's also really supportive about this new moon in Gemini is that it's sextile to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. It's again another supportive aspect. Saturn, structure, boundaries, the timekeeper, the taskmaster. Neptune, vision, imagination, fantasy. When it's in a supportive sextile with a new moon, this can be an initiation of a new vision or taking a vision to the next level. Also, with Saturn recently entering Aries, you could be feeling that push into something new. this new moon can be another level of that energy that opened up on May 24th. You may have a feeling of the dream having some structure, some support, a stable foundation to go to the next level. What I also like about this time period that we're moving into, Mercury is going to be entering Gemini. And excuse me, it will be in Gemini by the time of the new moon, excuse me. And Mercury is at home in Gemini. So this can increase our ability to communicate, sharpens our thinking, sharpens our negotiation power. So this is a great time for pitching ideas, finalizing contracts, finalizing paperwork, doing content creation and community engagement. Mercury is going to be in Gemini, I believe from May 20th until June 20th. I had it in my other video. Sorry, I don't have the notes right in front of me. But the main thing is that Mercury is in Gemini right now. And since Mercury is going to be going retrograde at the end of July, this is a great time to really get everything lined up. You know, any big contracts you've been working on, any big negotiations you've been doing, any new collaborations you want to start. This is a time to really put those details into motion. You're going to have that energetic support to do it. This could be a great time to also just get some big purchases out of the way. Gemini season in general is good for this sort of thing. Gemini season itself is May 20th through June 20th. So Gemini brings in that nice air energy, intellectual. Gemini in particular is very playful, very social, very fast moving. So this could be a good time, like I said, to buy the big purchases, get those contracts lined up. In terms of productivity, this is more ideal for short bursts of focus instead of long stretches. Gemini can be very fast moving, has a lot of energy. Unless it's really committed to something, then it can really hone in. But in particular, this could be a good time to experiment with like short bursts of productivity, you know, maybe like 20, 30-minute focus sessions versus like an hour to 3 hour sort of thing. This could be a good time to play with the Pomodoro method, where you focus on something for like 20 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes, do it again for 20 minutes, rest for 5, and then that's called one Pomodoro, that 20-minute, 5-minute structure. Do 3 of those, and then take a break for like half hour, and then go back to it. Gemini season, great time for that sort of thing in terms of your productivity. This could be a great time too for brainstorming, batching content. And it's also Gemini season could be an excellent time for experimenting with new platforms or even new collaborations. You could even repurpose older content from a newer angle. So think about ways you want to experiment with expressing your voice, your messaging. What do you want to do with your offers? That sort of thing. You could put that in the comment below. Maybe this new moon will give you some ideas for new moon intentions you want to set. New moons are a great time for setting intentions. This new moon in Gemini is a particularly good new moon for setting intentions that you want to see come to fruition within the next 6 months. That's typically how it works. You set an intention during a new moon, and then 6 months later is usually when it comes to harvest or fruition, or it gets released into the world. Some planning and productivity strategies. Like I said, this time through now, through early July, excellent time for prime planning. So you can schedule important meetings, interviews, again, collaborations. And then, you know, if you want to break this down, maybe you want to play with some weekly themes. For example, the first half of June, you can focus on outreach or marketing, content batching. And then the second half of June, you could look at ways to align some of these new ideas with audience feedback or getting data from them, launching a survey, maybe doing more lives to get feedback from your audience, that sort of thing. You could also play around with doing different types of mind maps. That might be helpful. Or play around with ways that you organize your goals, your long-term strategies, you know, just play around with different systems. Gemini season, and while Mercury is in Gemini, excuse me, excellent time for doing that sort of thing. In terms of some of the spiritual or energetic themes, on some circles, Gemini represents the throat chakra. So again, it's an excellent time to do some shadow work around speaking your truth, clearing out old stories, looking at what has kept you silent in the past, especially in terms of how it's impacting your ability to show up fully for yourself, for your business, your mission, your vision. Some potential rituals for the new moon. You can maybe journal about what truths do I need to voice in my business? What truths do I need to voice in my business? What truths do I need to voice in my business? You can use candle work, or you could even play with crystals. So in terms of candles, maybe blue or white candles. And then in terms of crystals, blue lace agate, citrine, aquamarine, that can help foster communication and help healing the throat chakra. And also, again, I wanted to just acknowledge that this is Memorial Day weekend. It is nice that we have a 3-day weekend. There may be some time to really sit and reflect and ponder. Of course, we want to honor all the veterans whose lives were lost. That is what Memorial Day is traditionally about acknowledging. So if you have family members that you lost, in combat, my condolences. I want to acknowledge my respect for that. My father was a Marine. He didn't die in combat, but so I have a lot of respect for veterans is the main point of what I want to make here. So I definitely want to acknowledge the veterans who may be listening and family members who have veterans. And hopefully you have time to acknowledge that as well on the actual holiday as well. But in terms of your own personal spiritual growth, this weekend with that new moon energy building towards the new moon itself on the Monday, this could be a good time to pause, reset, and reflect on maybe where you've been overcommitting yourself mentally, what needs to be simplified, and also just another opportunity to look in and how can you honor your growth before moving forward. This could also be a good weekend to do a digital detox. Give yourself at least 1 or 2 days completely free of social media, YouTube, the phone. I do that from time to time myself, just have a day and where my phone is completely off or at least in airplane mode. And I just read physical books, and I'm not watching TV or binging, giving myself a complete detox from screen time. I find that really helpful to my nervous system. It's one of my self-nurturing practices. And again, excellent weekend, 3-day weekends are great times for doing that work as well, getting the massage or the manicure, the pedicure, the facial, an actual physical massage, maybe a salt spa. Again, or just taking a walk with friends and family, getting outside, enjoying nature, maybe going for a swim, doing those things. I hope you get to do that during this weekend. This is a pretty short video. Just want to come in real quick here. Feel free to comment below if you are going to have some new moon intentions as well, or any maybe new practices that you might consider taking up during this new moon. New moons are a great time to start a new positive habit. So if you've been looking at a time to start maybe a new nutrition regimen or a new fitness routine, this new moon could be a great time to do that as well. And if you do, let me know how it goes. Hope all is well. Again, just want to come in here real briefly, discuss this upcoming new moon. I'm going to come back next week. My Monday video, hopefully I'll get it on Monday. Depends on how my weekend goes as well. But I want to do an upcoming video about Jupiter moving into Cancer, which is going to be happening in June. And again, hope you are well. Hope you can take advantage of all this great momentum that we have with Mercury and Gemini season. Wishing you all the best. Love, peace, and joy. Easefully yours, Darice.